Hey everyone, Strong Family Financial here, Jamie Strong speaking. It's an honor and a privilege to be with this gentleman, Mr. Steve Helt. Really proud of Steve. Had a phenomenal year in 2022. It's one thing to hear me talk about how great this company is and how well you can do and everything, but today I thought it'd be better to hear from someone that's worked here for many years. And Steve, congratulations on your new promotion to management. Good job. So Steve, huge year last year. We're calling him Sexy Six-Figure Steve because of the year he had last year. You know what, Steve, I'll open it up to you. Why was last year so good financially for you?
More than anything, I think this is a business for fighters. Not people who seek conflict, because I'm definitely not that guy, but people who are willing to survive, to persevere. It's a business that's forgiving of wherever you've been in the past, and it's a business that you can chart your course as long as you're willing to do the work. And as you know, and a lot of our friends here at the office know, I had a pretty devastating car wreck. I was nearly killed and had to have a giant spinal fusion, right? 6 pounds of titanium holding me together. And I was having a decent bit of momentum before that happened. It's COVID, it's a difficult year. I think there were big challenges for everybody. And because I laid in bed, or on the couch, doing rehab therapy, getting to the walker, I just made a resolution that I would get that momentum back, and that I resolved I would have the best year in insurance I'd ever had whenever I came back and could finally work. And by the grace of God, or Dr. Kalani at St. John, whoever you ask, I can wiggle my toes, I can work full time, I can drive, long distances to do the work that's necessary. And my clients have been appreciative of my work and good enough on their own to stick with me and give me referrals to go see other people and help them. And that's why, just hard work and perseverance. I think it helps to have the support of an organization that cares about you. And I thank Strong Family for holding my place here while I couldn't work, while I was kind of on my back, but I wanted to come back stronger than ever. And I was able to do that, and I'm really grateful.
As you are going through rehab and recovery, I remember you just not even being able to walk, having to use a walker, having like a full body cast contraption on. As you're laying in bed, I'm sure there were some dark times, but was there that effect where, oh my gosh, I am unable to work right now? And maybe when you were able to go back to work, it just felt so freeing. Tell me a little bit about that.
I've always struggled with, depression, self-image, self-worth, and all that. In fact, I've often made the joke that I'm kind of rubbish on my own, right? If I don't have some kind of support or encouragement, I'm not really great on my own. And I've had to learn some of that, in the wake of, there's the accident, there's a divorce that was pretty contentious. And I've had to learn how to sort of start to see myself the way that I want my clients to see me. So sure, as a result, there were dark times, you lay awake. There are weird things that happen whenever you're physically incapacitated, As my spine knit itself back together and the nerves reconnected, I would have these weird feelings, little electrical fields that would go off of my body. And I'd be worried about it. Am I getting paralyzed? What's happening to me? I would have moments where, I had a few broken ribs right after the accident, and they don't treat the ribs. They treated the spine because that was important. The ribs, they'll just do what they do. Okay. And, you can't yawn, you can't sneeze, it's hard to breathe, It gets hard just to be in survival mode for those little bits of time. And every moment of gaining strength, every bit of being able to come into the office, even hobbling around on a walker, you start to feel freedom. And, it's kind of an interesting allegory to what Butch was saying today about financial freedom and mental freedom, emotional freedom. Because you're not really in prison until you're trapped in your bed, trapped in your house, waiting for somebody to bring you a meal, waiting for the strength to get up and push yourself around on a contraption. And there are people that go through that and have been through worse, right? I would go to follow-up appointments and I would see people and they would be in these crazy contraptions just meant to hold them together, and they were worse than mine. And I would just think, man, I guess I can be grateful that, I never lost feeling on my toes. I've never been really paralyzed. In the same sense some of these people are working through and still working through today. So I think when you have support and people care about you and are praying for you, you can be grateful. And when you're grateful, you gain strength. And whenever you get that strength and start moving around, you gain freedom. I remember one funny story, just to tell on you a little bit, the kind of sense of humor that we have around here. I remember you once got on the intercom, because I was here, I was trying to do interviews and trying to teach people some classes so they could sell, because I couldn't go out in the field. And on the intercom in front of God and everybody, you said, Steve, I need you to come down to my office and give me an update on your condition, how you doing? And then I'm like, oh, okay. So I start to scoot my chair back and I'm gonna lean it over to the walker, and then you get back on the intercom and you say, you've got 30 minutes to get here, right? And it's a fun office, but it's not that big. It's pretty funny. But yeah, every bit of strength that you gain, you gain some freedom. It's a good allegory to financial strength. Every bit of financial strength you get, every bit of business success, every bit of momentum with referrals and with taking good care of clients, you gain freedom. And you are able to take the next step. And just like in the insurance business, well, just like in that situation, I had to put one foot in front of the other and learn to walk and put myself in that position. In the insurance business, you have to put one foot in front of the other. Yes. Do the work, walk, gain strength until you can start carrying things, you know, and then you carry a larger weight because you're able to and because you know other people need the help. Awesome. And so, yeah.
One thing I know about you is throughout your whole career here at Strong Family Financial, whether you were directly responsible for training people or not, I mean, you're certainly not a guy that's been averse to splitting commissions with people, sure, whether they've been on your team or not. And I know that for a lot of people in the insurance world, that challenge of going from I'm an agent mindset into I am a leader, a developer, trainer mindset, that's a big challenge. I mean, you came on board, you toughed it out, you had all the capability in the world to just build a book of business on your own, write business yourself, never split commissions, but you've always chosen, mostly voluntarily, to take time to help people if you see them struggling in the office, or take time to take people out in the field with you. I mean, I can't recall a day I've been in the office where I haven't seen you talking to someone, imparting knowledge upon them, or offering to help in any way. So, I mean, just share your thought. What kept you from being I'm just going to focus on Steve and I'm just going to make my own money, I'm going to build my own book of business? Why did you choose to help other people the way that you have?
We could go back a long ways, and I could say I'm naturally inclined to try to teach. I'm opinionated about the way I think should be done, about principles that should be met, and that sort of stuff. And so, to a degree, that's probably me trying to make sure that I'm influencing how things get done. Okay. But also, I just remember, you know, as you remember, in my early days here, I came with a chip on my shoulder. I thought I can complete a sentence, I can communicate. I started telling myself that I'd be a better, higher integrity salesperson than the other people around me. And that was without knowing sales or them or having a background in sales. I just had a chip on my shoulder like so many people do about what the sales climate is like. You and others taught me that sales is something that we're doing for people, and it's something that we're doing with people. We're not an island. I'm not giving them an ultimatum and then talking them into it and then making them do something. I'm helping somebody achieve financial freedom, lower their costs, gain control over events that I've experienced recently that you don't have much control, right? And so as a result, I kind of hamstrung myself with all these expectations coming in and had to learn those lessons slowly. Well, to learn those lessons, someone has to teach you those lessons. Okay. And so it makes it very, very easy. I'm not the most humble, or it's not that easy starting out, but it becomes easier to want to teach somebody because somebody else had to teach me. Okay. And that's really the reason why I embraced the teaching and training role, is because, you know, as you know, there was a while I went my first several weeks, I didn't work as hard. Well, I worked hard, I didn't work very smart. Okay. And I got myself in a little bit of trouble and I didn't know what to do. And it took a couple of people taking me under their wing and saying, hey, listen, you've got the right attitude, you don't have the right approach. And you're gonna have to stop thinking you know all this stuff. You're just gonna have to learn and do it the way we teach you. And then you can help us learn how to do, you know, how to do things better too, once you know what you're doing. And it took people who would take me under their wing and teach me. And so I've always wanted to return that by being able to help people, give them advice, show them not to do the mistakes that I made, and start their career the right way.
So I've got to ask now, for people that have never been in this business, or maybe they've been looking at it, what did you do before you worked at Strong Family Financial? Talk a little bit about your background before you got into this business.
I was the guy that growing up I had the potential to do anything. I was a pretty smart cookie, interested in a lot of stuff, naturally pretty curious. You know, I sometimes felt like I missed a step by not going into the military and maybe trying to be involved in intelligence and tactical analysis. You know, my dad got a Purple Heart in Vietnam, so I always wanted to know more about what that life was like. So I've always been interested in lots of different things. But money was always an issue. We grew up poor. We didn't know how to handle money. My parents didn't really teach me much about handling money. And so getting to college was a struggle for me. I paid for half of my college with scholarships by being a speech debate guy, competitive speech debate person, and it was hard to work on those things and then fulfill my scholarship obligations and still work to pay for college. And my parents didn't have the money to do that, so it became hard for me to stay. So whatever potential I had, wanted to go into law, wanted to go into ministry and seminary, wanted to go into the military, all the different things that I wanted to try to accomplish and be good at, it was a real struggle. And so I ended up taking a job at a restaurant and being decent at managing numbers and managing product and trying to meet expectations. And because the guy that taught me that business taught me that it was about principles. If you make pretty food, people will enjoy it more. If you do a good job and meet expectations for your customers, if you're good about getting in front of people and marketing, and those are all things I took to pretty naturally. And the thing is that those principles can translate anywhere, but I didn't feel that way. I thought of myself as kind of a letdown. So I'm good at this and I'm not gonna be good at anything else. And so I spent 15 years in the food industry. Wow. Not that all work is noble to me. There are fantastic people who run amazing businesses, make a lot of money, help people, are pillars of their community by being restaurant guys. But I wasn't those things. I was always struggling with those and always felt like I had saddled myself with that. I couldn't get away from working 60 hours a week for $30,000 because I just felt like there's no time, I can't go do anything else, no one's gonna hire me to do anything else. Right. So I've just gotta kill myself making this tiny amount of money and that becomes hard. And it's a hard business to compete and make good money in. Yep. If you're not the owner in the restaurant industry, it's hard to be the one making the bread. So at one point I left that, I decided I was done with the restaurant industry. My wife at the time wanted me to be done with that, be off on weekends, be home with family. I thought, well, how am I gonna do that and make the same amount of money? And I didn't. I took a pay cut to go work as an optician. Oh, wow. I ended up being an office manager for an optometrist and couldn't stay at that job any longer. It was just, it was different. It wasn't enough money. I had to do something different. So I responded to a career builder offer. A guy called me, I put my resume out there. A guy called me and asked me to come interview and do insurance. And I thought, well, I've never done sales before. I don't know if I could do that. And then, again, my family, so you know what, you probably could do this because you go out and you market restaurants. You go out and you go to nursing homes and you talk to seniors about their glasses and their vision and their insurance and stuff. You're frustrated with insurance for your senior clients or your patients all the time. And I thought, okay, maybe I could learn something and that would be a help. And that's what I did. I learned that because of a couple of combined experiences. It ended up meaning I would end up getting a license in insurance to do sales. Struggled for a few years with it, not really knowing what I was doing. And took off really on the basis of support and perseverance and the need to find a way to succeed and help people with what I'm good at the same time.
A lot of people don't know this about me, but I started out as a dishwasher at a truck stop between Weatherford and Clinton. I worked my way up to short order cook. So you talking about all work being noble, yeah. Totally buy into that. So sounds you, maybe a lot like me, we're in junior high, we're not necessarily saying, hey, I want to be an insurance agent when I grow up, sure. But it sounds like this career path for you has helped you accomplish things in your personal life that you were not able to accomplish when you were doing those other jobs.
Yeah, it's 100% true, yeah. I've made more money than I've ever made in the insurance business. I've never been afraid of it being a commission job because I think where I was always feeling like I was working harder than I was getting paid for. Okay. So I always felt like I am worth more than this, but how do I get these talents to translate into that? And then, I had barely any misgivings about working a commission job when it finally came to do sales. Yeah. Because I was worried, can I do sales? But then I knew if I can do sales, the money will be there. I'll be okay. I can provide for my family. Mm-hmm. When I got this job though, I had my youngest daughter, I had 3 stepdaughters and a daughter. And I love them all, they're all my kids. But I was experiencing having my own newborn. And so, she was a year and a half old, I think, when I started here. And so the whole idea, suddenly there's just extra gravity. I've got to provide. I've got to now work even harder to do a good job because just by virtue of becoming a father, I've made promises. And as a result, I just knew I had to find a way to make it work. And it was a struggle, and I got my own way many times. And there were times that I could have taken advice better. And there were times when I got kind of down on my feelings a little bit, especially right after the divorce, and I thought maybe I'm just not going to do this anymore. Now I'm glad I didn't. I am able to provide for my daughter now in a way that I never was able before, and certainly never would have been in any other industry.
That's very inspiring to hear. A lot of people fail to recognize that even to just be able to make a six-figure income in a year, it definitely puts you in a group of elite income performers, we'll call them, as far as, you know, the percentage of people. Really only about 1 out of every 10 people you encounter is going to be making $140,000 a year or more. So I know money isn't everything, and one thing I've always been extremely confident in with you is I don't think you're real money focused. I think that you're incredibly focused on helping other people, whether they be in this office or even more importantly, out there in the field. You know, you've sat across the kitchen table from many different prospects that have become clients. And so just a shout out to you. I've never had anything but the utmost in confidence that you're going to do the right thing for people, listen to them, do thorough needs assessments, and help them, you know, live out the rest of their lives with the peace of mind knowing of the work that you've done is going to make things easier on their family and the next generation when you pass on. I mean, for someone that is potentially looking at a career change, or maybe even for people that are scared to death to do such an entrepreneurial business such as the insurance world, what would you have to say to help calm the fears that they may have in looking at something like this?
Largely in our culture, we have the wrong focus when we look at successful, wealthy people. We think about what they have, and we tend to either be jealous or make assumptions about what they had to do to get there. The reality is that people who have success are architects. They build their success, and the reason they have more success is not because they're greedy, not because there's no such thing as enough or whatever. It's because the thing that they do at their core creates success. And so you think about a guy like Mark Cuban, right? Or we talk about a guy like you. You know, the point was not to go out and make as much money as possible. The point was to have a high level of activity. The point was to be accountable to myself, to be in the field and working with people. The point was every time I get in the house, I can put aside any other distractions, and these people are who I'm here to help. This is the job that I'm here to do today. And if you do that, then the success you have stacks up over time, and it creates residual income that you can rely on and budget around. And it creates a sense that I have done it the right way, and so the money that's come is an advantage of the business that I'm running, not the whole point of the business that I'm running.
Gotcha.
Right? And that allows me to then, like I said, provide for Priya, to do a great job as a dad for her, or an improving job, you know. And you know, in some ways, in the economy that we live in, there is no such thing as enough, right? Because there's always some sort of obstacle. There can always be a year where we shut down the economy and it can be hard, you know, to continue to save money. But in other ways, enough is when the effort is good enough, then the money will be there. And that's what I would say for anybody who's new in the business, is if you do the work. I've never seen anybody who comes in and treats it like their business and treats it like a full-time job that they have accountability for. I've never seen that fail to provide for a family. I have seen people who come in and think about the freedom, and they focus on, well, now I'm my own boss and all that stuff. Yeah. And they're not focused on the work, they're focused on, this is my business. And that, I think it can be, I have failed with that attitude, you know, so I know it can be that way. But if what you do is you think, I am gonna work on the work, and I'm gonna help these folk, and I'm gonna be in the field every day doing it. You know, maybe a little bit of ice is on the road, maybe I'm not feeling it every morning, but I've gotta be out there and I've gotta do the work. And if I do that, the financial success will come, and it will continue to roll and improve. And so I don't have to be focused on money to make money, I have to be focused on work.
Agreed. Well, Steve, I gotta tell you, I'm extremely proud of you. You know, just earlier in this conversation, we were talking about the car accident that you were in. I mean, it's a miracle that you're alive. I can't think of anybody more worthy of financial success and a high level of job satisfaction than you. So hats off to you. It's an honor to have you here, represent this organization. I'm extremely proud of you. You're just a fun guy to be around. All right, I appreciate your humor. I think I may be one of a handful of people in this world that may get 80% of your humor, but it's very good nonetheless.
It's a good time to be a nerd.
Well, you know what? Having a daughter, one of my children, Lindley, just thinks you're the coolest guy in the world because of all the nerdy things that you and her have in common. So I know she's a great judge of character. So So again, Steve Helt with Strong Family Financial. I appreciate you talking today, letting me off the hook a little bit. You know, check us out, www.strongfamilyfinancial.com. Steve is a great example of what this opportunity can bear out. So again, phenomenal year last year, Mr. Steve Helt. And guess what? Steve is now in the upper level of management, and Steve is ready to train, develop, and mentor the next member of this wonderful, strong family. Hope you all have a great day. It's good to see you. Jamie Strong, Strong Family Financial, along with Steve Helt.